Welcome back, everybody, to the Derby City Fandom Podcast. My name is Kenny. Today, we have another special guest. This time, I brought a different Zachary. My friend, Zach. Welcome.
Hello, yes. You found the ocarina shaped like a dagger that when played through a mask sounds like a trumpet. And from a nondescript harbor, I walked up here.
Yes. I don't understand how that works. But yes, if that wasn't enough of a hint, today we are talking about the Power Rangers. Now, it is a good time to talk about the Power Rangers. Do you all know why? I know Zach knows why, but do you all know why?
I just want to point out one thing.
Sure.
Jake and I did not get an introduction.
Well, everybody knows who you all are.
I'm just saying if we're gonna be regular on introductions, even with guests.
Okay, fine. We'll edit something in. I won't edit anything in.
By the way,
But yes, Jake is here this time. Colin's here. Hello.
What's up, everybody? But like Kenny said, we are doing the Power Rangers
Is
today.
it a birthday?
Yes.
Or anniversary?
Anniversary. 30-year anniversary as of Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh man.
Dang.
Yeah.
We're old. I remember when this stuff was new. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I got a fun little sound clip. So part of my childhood was waking up on Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and just listening to this.
Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers!
And just having a ball with it, right? I think everybody knows that intro from somewhere. It's been remixed 100 million times over.
Do you know the reason why they've remixed it in the recent seasons?
Probably some like copyright shareholder thing,
Exactly,
right?
yes. Power Rangers being sold and resold so many times. In one of those resellings, they lost the rights to the original music. They can't use the original song anymore.
Wow.
Really? Okay, because I know it's changed hands.
So are we good
Yeah.
on playing that little clip just then? Or are we gonna get sued?
That's small of a
only
clip. You
10
should be.
seconds, right?
Yeah.
So it's not.
That's like 30 seconds or something. I think you have to be concerned with. But yeah.
So who has the rights to it? You know?
I think it's the original artist who like
Just like he's just
they're not involved after Saban kind of ruined the relationship, as is a trend for Saban. And then after that, it went to Disney and then back to Saban. And I'm pretty sure when it went back to Saban, he tried to do stuff and they realized, no, you don't have the rights to do that. So they had to re-record everything.
Yeah.
There's actually
There's a lot of
scene-
like weird legal
oh my God, there's
nonsense
so much
behind
weird
Power
legal
Rangers.
stuff.
But we can get into that a little bit. So Zach here is my resident fandom for Power Rangers.
subject matter expert.
Subject matter expert.
Very much so.
Have you seen each season? All 29 that are out so far?
I have seen at least one episode of every season. Back in pandemic times, I tried to challenge myself to like rate each season based off the intro episodes up until the first Megazord fight.
Sure.
And there are a couple of them where I hit the eject button before I got to the Megazord fight.
Oh, no. That bad.
It was that bad.
Man, I can't wait to hear.
Yeah. And I've watched a ton of reviews for the ones that I like, this one's okay, but I don't really feel like continuing.
Sure.
And then there are actually a couple seasons that like I hadn't seen previously. And I'm like, okay, these are bangers. These are okay.
Yeah. I think I was talking with Colin earlier. I kind of jumped ship around 2003, which I believe was Ninja Storm.
Oh, dude.
The first time they introduced the ninjas.
Well,
Or second time, whichever.
something like that. Yeah, that's a shame. Ninja Storm was great.
Yes.
Like it was completely different from what had come before it, but yeah, that was like when I got back into it almost.
Sure.
So
Okay.
and I watched a couple seasons as my little brother was growing up there, and it was acceptable for me to watch his TV.
Yes.
Yeah, and then there was the falling off after that when he was done with it. So
Okay. Jake, do you watch any Power Rangers growing up?
Oh yeah. So I probably stopped sooner than you. Like,
Okay.
I remember, I guess, like sitting here today, I recall more of the maybe early seasons,
The
mid
Mighty Morphin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like whenever I picture Power Rangers, like that's who I'm imagining, like that
Mm-hmm.
type of outfit and whatever. But
Yeah, and they've worked to make sure that that's who you remember.
Yeah.
Like they're doing a better job now of like representing all the seasons and stuff, but like they want you to know that Power Rangers is Mighty Morphin and the rest comes afterwards.
yeah,
So.
and yeah, full disclosure, I haven't seen anything since. I think they've released something recently, like on streaming, right? So
Oh, yeah.
They're
goes-
about to,
it's still
yes.
ongoing. but-
Well, like the recent seasons are all on Netflix now.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, because I do know that the 30th anniversary of Once and Always, I believe it's called, is coming out here later this week, as of our recording here.
Yeah, we watched the trailer before everybody showed up tonight.
I am like
well,
vibrating with hype whenever
it,
I
wa-
see that.
it was
trailer.
more of like a trailer for the show, and then also like a behind the scenes kind of thing. So
okay.
I'm definitely gonna give it a shot because I got this like sense of nostalgia for sure.
Yeah.
But so back on the topic, what we were talking about before is I pretty much got into it around 95, 96.
Okay.
Mighty Morphin for sure, and then the season after that,
See you.
or series,
Zeo.
it was yeah. I definitely recall that. But after that fact, I think I'd jump ship.
Yeah. No, I definitely more a Zeo kid than anything else for me. So yeah.
You said Kenny jumped ship right before the ninja.
Well, like right after Ninja, so I don't know what happens. I know that my memory of Ninja Storm, granted this was 20 years ago now, from when that came out,
Dude,
that Tommy Oliver was like the dojo teacher to like a handful of kids.
No, that's Dino Thunder.
Was that Dino Thunder? I
That's-
could have
yeah,
sworn that
that's
was
Dino
the Ninja Storm.
No. You're getting the two seasons confused because Tommy definitely comes back in Dino Thunder, but there were three chosen above the others who would become the Power Rangers Ninja Storm. So
Oh. Sure.
yeah,
Okay.
there's the whole dojo thing. Do you remember the hamster sensei?
Yes.
That is Ninja Storm.
Okay, that
100%.
was
Did you
Ninja
say
Storm.
hamster?
Yes.
It's a
Yep.
hamster sensei.
Yes,
Yes.
because
He didn't stutter.
they didn't have enough actors for all the roles.
They just said, "Fuck it,
No.
we're bringing
So
in
what
the
they
hamster."
did is they took the dojo sensei, and because he was doing double booking, he was both the sensei and the evil overlord, just voice acting differently. They like did a little CGI hamster for him. He got cursed or some shit in the first couple episodes.
Nice.
And so then he was just bouncing around as a hamster for like the entire season until they fix it.
Dude, hamsters are cool. I like
dude, I would want that gig 100%, dude.
He like that
Hamster
actor is
doesn't.
in so many of the like
Dude, why not?
early Disney seasons. He does so much stuff for them. He's great.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's freaking awesome.
I didn't remember. Yes, there was a weird little hamster man running around. Oh,
Occasionally giving them sage advice, but mostly just being like, "You need to do this," and then, Lothor is attacking this part of town. Go over there."
Yes.
That's basically all he did.
So which was your favorite season, Kenny?
I think I enjoyed like the later, I guess, bits of Mighty Morphin. So right before it became Zeo, you do get like the transitions. Now I get the feeling I'm about to be corrected by Zach, so feel free to correct me.
Try to be kind about it, I promise.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm here for it. Tommy becomes the Red Ranger and then becomes the White Ranger, or is it the opposite?
It's the opposite.
It's the
He
opposite.
starts
Okay.
off as Green Ranger in the original season of Mighty Morphin.
Right.
Then there's contracting issues, and they run out of Mighty Morphin footage, or out of Z Ranger footage. So then they have to swap, and they bring in the White Ranger. And luckily, the White Ranger suit it matches the existing Mighty Morphin suits, so they can just kind of transition.
Like palette swap. But-
Yeah, pretty much. But that's actually from an entirely different Japanese show, and all the Zords and stuff for that season are from the other show, and that's when they started doing more stuff like in California in suit and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Zach. Have you seen? Because I know Power Rangers from I guess the Americanized version of it. Have you seen the Japanese series that it kind of
I
came from?
tried a couple of them, and I just have a hard time watching dubs. Like, I am the kind of person that I like watching anime and stuff like that. If I'm really invested, I'll actually watch the whole thing. But if I'm only halfway invested, I have to have something else going on. And it's like, if it's a total dub, or sorry, a total sub, then I just can't watch it. So it's like all the Sentais are subbed, not dubbed. So I can't really.
Yeah.
I'd like to, but it doesn't seem entirely worth my time if I've seen all of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of differences, but I'd rather read about those differences than watch the whole season. So
Sure. Now, I know Super Sentai is kind of like what it's based off of.
absolutely, yeah.
Is Kamen Rider its own thing?
Kamen Rider and Sentai. Kamen Rider is sort of the origin of Sentai.
Okay.
And then it splits off where Sentai is team based, and then Kamen Rider is the rider based.
Gotcha.
So it's a lot more individual characters, a lot of different not matching suits as well. When they do have team ups or just more than one rider in a season. But when it comes to Sentai, it is the full team with a matching aesthetic and everything like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Kamen Rider for you all is like the Japanese one. Yeah. I don't think it ever gets dubbed, does it?
No, there are some dubs of Kamen Rider shows, the more recent ones at least.
Okay.
And they did try to bring it over as the Masked Rider in the 90s. Completely flopped.
I was going to say, I think that flopped hard.
Oh, terrible. Like everything that wasn't VR Troopers and Beetleborgs never made it past the first season. So,
Yes.
so yeah.
So my question is, I'm pretty sure I already know the answer, but this is all the same universe, just Power Rangers in general.
Well,
Yes, but no.
there are definitely different universes in later shows because one of those seasons they definitely have a black hole that swallows the Earth and the Rangers lose for one episode. And then
Sweet.
they rewrite time and go through a black hole, and then dinosaurs exist in the modern day. So, and that's the finale of the show.
Yeah.
Welcome to Dino Charge.
Oh, that's like the newest one, isn't it?
No. Dino Fury is the newest one. And
Okay.
now we are back in baseline Power Rangers reality.
This reminds me of Jurassic Park. Only I think I would rather watch Power Rangers than Jurassic Park with their later films that have come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey
Stuff.
nonsense that goes on.
Yeah.
And that's not counting the comics. So
Yeah.
there it is.
Interesting.
So one thing that I really like about, I guess, Power Rangers just being around for so long is that they also just team up with, well, primarily other teams because of the whole timey-wimey stuff, as you like to call it. But also just, casually you'll have like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in like an episode.
We don't talk about that, or at least I try not to.
Oh.
Oh man, you hit a
Oh, no. You see, because I enjoy
dude,
like the
just
gif
for
of them just like
conversation.
bouncing up and down.
Let's go there. Let's
Okay.
go there.
Okay, we'll go there. Sorry, we'll make you talk.
I'm opening this can of worms.
This is the awful power of cross promotion at Fox Kids, where they're trying really hard to make the Ninja Turtles live action show work, and that's the only reason they're in Power Rangers. Like they are never mentioned again. Like they're never brought up again. That's sort of the problem with like the Masked Rider spinoff. Is like his introduction is in like the third season of Mighty Morphin, like right as they get the ninja powers. So like they have these characters that they show up and they help out and they do stuff, and then they vanish because it's all just cross promotion for toys.
Yeah, they lose the rights like almost immediately.
It's not even that. It's just like the show that spins off of that does terribly. Nobody cares. It's not Power Rangers.
Yeah,
it-
it's different, so why bother?
Right. Well, and generally the writing for those shows was not nearly as good either.
That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did show up on Power Rangers in Space for 2 whole episodes. One where they were brainwashed by the current big bad of In Space, and then another where they got unbrainwashed and kind of had 1 or 2 fight scenes, and then they rode the Star Surfers or whatever the in-space surfboards were. Yeah, they had motorcycles that turned into surfboards because they were like getting kind of comfortable with green screen tech. So they had all of these like actors in suits riding their surfboards in the background of space, and it was just kind of a thing. It's just how they got places sometimes.
Yes.
Fuck yes. Yeah. That is the nerdiest, most awesome shit I've ever freaking seen. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I love that.
But it's like, other than like the, I guess the now spoken can of worms, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episodes.
Those were terrible episodes.
The main like big team up episodes I remember is where they bring in like something like 10 or 12 different Red Rangers.
Oh, Forever Red.
Forever Red.
Yes, that is the 10th anniversary episode of Power Rangers. Because originally the team up episodes were only between Sentai seasons that matched.
Sure.
And they only did those after they started having different teams. So like first it was the In Space showing up in Lost Galaxy, then Lost Galaxy showed up in Time Force. Time Force showed up in Wild Force, but then Wild Force was the 10th anniversary. So they're like, we got to do something big. And they pulled out as many stops as they could budgetarily, and used a whole bunch of older like robot suits from different shows. I'm pretty sure most of them were Beetleborg suits. Yeah. But they had all 10 of the Red Rangers, and yeah, it was great. It was for only having like 9 Rangers. Time Force had 2 Reds, so that's how they got away with it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's amazing to go back and watch as a kid. It's just like, oh my God, so cool. And then at the very end, they ran out of budget again.
Oh no.
And so they used their new toy in the most terrible CG possible to kill like the anti-Zord, like the anti-Megazord called Serpentera. Which in the Mighty Morphin seasons came down and like stomped cities and destroyed planets and like terrible, awful monstrosity. And a winged motorbike killed it. He drives down the mouth of this giant dragon and just explodes it from the inside. And as a kid, you're like, whoa! And like, I watched that episode again during my rewatch, and I'm like, oh man.
Man, that kind of gives me an image of was it the Avengers where Tony Stark, Iron Man just goes right through the freaking what is that?
The
Space whale?
Space whale, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's
Everybody I know just calls them space whales.
I'm sure there's an actual name, but who cares?
But yeah, no, it's definitely that vibe.
Except like PS1 era CGI. Like it is the worst CGI in Power Rangers in my opinion.
Yeah, I had a PS1. Don't talk shit.
Look,
Nothing
great
but respect.
games, but graphics,
Didn't necessarily age well.
no. And I'm a Beast Wars fan. I'm allowed to say that the graphics didn't age well.
Oh gosh, man, I used to like Reboot. I used to like Reboot, and then they tried to reboot, and that ended horribly.
Really?
And
Oh, they did. I haven't watched it. I protest.
don't.
I'm not going to waste my time. But I do remember in college trying to get a couple of friends to watch the first episode of Reboot, and we could not make it through the first episode.
I was there. It was bad.
Hey, why did you not stop me?
Sometimes you just got to embrace the pain.
Oh, fair enough.
Back to Power Rangers, though.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Just for anybody that really isn't too familiar, Zach, can you give us a general synopsis, if you will, of what the hell the Power Rangers are about?
Okay, so it's about teamwork and working together, saving the planet. There you go.
Power of friendship.
All right.
It's literally the power of friendship plus you're given powers from something. This team is formed. There is a threat. They answer the threat.
Monster of the week.
Just to kind of carry forward with Colin's question here, and not to put you on the spot,
Sure.
Zach, but could you start from like let's start in like early '90s season 1 and go through today, and just you can keep it very brief, like for
Sure.
each season.
Yeah.
And I was curious, you brought something up in the very beginning of the podcast of like, well, there were certain seasons I only made it 1 or 2 episodes in. And
Yeah.
if you don't wouldn't mind, like touch
touching
base, like
Yeah.
what the hell happened with those episodes where it's like
For
you
sure.
were not a fan of that. So
For sure,
not to
for
put you
sure.
on the spot, but if you want to start like the
Yeah.
season 1 and go through,
No,
we
put
would
him
love
on
to
the
hear
spot.
it.
That's why he's here.
Yeah,
He signed up for
I am
this.
on the
Yeah,
spot.
I'm
I am
genuinely
here.
curious.
Yeah.
I have some familiarity with the first couple seasons, as
Right.
I mentioned, but the more recent stuff, even kind of when Kenny was mentioned, once you hit the 2000s.
Right. It drops off. So first season, Mighty Morphin is the big bad is Rita Repulsa. She's released after 10,000 years from a cosmic space dumpster. After 10,000 years, I'm free. Of course, everybody knows the line. Zordon is an ancient wizard trapped in a time warp who can only appear in the tube. He's sort of the mentor and arbiter of the powers and all that stuff. Pulls together the team to fight Rita. They don't win. Rita gets ousted by the U.S. specific bigger bad, the best bad, Lord Zed, who then almost destroys their Zords. The Zords then have to get upgraded to the Thunder powers, which is where you get the White Ranger, and the different Zords from the different Sentai. After that, Rita escapes imprisonment by Zed, crafts a love potion, and convinces him to marry her to form an even greater empire of evil. It's the 90s. Definitely kind of weird today, but it was the 90s.
I'm into it.
And that's where they got their ninja powers, because then Rita's brother Rito, who's the skeleton man,
Yes.
shows up and destroys the power coins that allow them to morph. So they have to go find new powers. They go to Ninjor. He gives them the ninja powers. And then they use those Zords in reverse, actually, from the Sentai. Ending with Master Vile, Rita's dad, coming up and turning everyone in Angel Grove into children. All the adults get aged down. Or teenagers, I guess.
That's
get
some
aged down.
Benjamin Button shit right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but apparently you can't morph if you're too young, which they immediately break later on, but we'll get to it. And so then that's when Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers show up. The Alien Rangers from Aquitar come in, save the day, and they're actually using the ninja suits from the Sentai.
Yeah.
And the first ninja Zords, which is just giant people. I don't understand it. I haven't watched Sentai. Then at the end of that, I can't remember if they defeat them or not, but the kids have to go on this quest to find pieces of a Zeo crystal to get their powers back and turn everything to normal, which leads into Power Rangers Zeo. You have there's actor swaps in there, but it becomes just normal eventually. Zeo, you have them fighting the Machine Empire, who show up and kick out Rita and Zed. Although Rita and Zed do still show up in their cosmic RV for just like funny bits and cameos. So you kind of have this like the Machine Empire, all these different kings and queens of whatever are machinating against each other. And then you have Rita and Zed in an RV on the moon who are just like, we'll get them one day. Hilarious. Great season. Then they beat the Machine Empire, and that's when you get into the Turbo movie, which the Blue Ranger hurts his back or leg or something and can't continue being the Blue Ranger when this new threat, Divatox, shows up. That's when they get the kid who turns into a new Blue Ranger and grows to regular adult size when he morphs, because reasons. Just, it's there. It happens.
Yeah. Powers of the grid.
Something like that. So they fight Divatox. Divatox actually wins, blows up the Zords. You have the original cast moving out and the new cast moving in. The original cast has to try and run from Earth because Divatox is like on the verge of conquering everything, and she's coming after the Rangers first. They then get pulled in by a tractor beam to a spaceship, which has the Red and Space Ranger. And then they get their in-space powers. The kid stays on Earth because he can't leave his family or whatever. They have this huge confrontation eventually, because that's like a masterpiece of a season. Huge confrontation with this alliance of evil, including the remnants of the Machine Empire, Divatox from Turbo, Rita and Zed and Rito, and Astronema, who's the new in-space bad. They're all underneath this dark specter monster. And the only way to actually win, because the Rangers are pushed so far back against the wall, their Zords are blown up, they're barely able to use their powers, is to destroy the captive Zordon. Somehow the bad guys have captured Zordon, and you have to kill him and release his energy into the universe in order to banish all of this evil. And they do it. And it's an amazing climactic scene, really, really great stuff, especially for like mid to late 90s. Like it was really, really, really good. And this is when you start getting like just the team rotates over every season. So then you have Lost Galaxy, where everyone is on a space station. Deep Space Nine was airing around that time, so they're doing a very similar thing. They get to reuse a lot of the spaceship sets that they had from In Space, so it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, that definitely helped. I remember that being a point that they, because Saban didn't really know how to budget anything.
It's more just he didn't want to spend money, period.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have that, and this is these galactic forces versus an evil galactic bug lord. Eventually they win. That's also a really great like character development season. Like all the characters have really good development and arcs, and pretty great. That is the one that it takes, I think, the longest to actually get their Zords. You have to get like 5 or 6 episodes in before you ever get a Megazord.
That's kind of crazy because, like, aside from, like, you know, the transformations and the fight scenes, like the swords are like the thing, like, you know, the big monster battle.
Yeah, but that's a whole thing. They have to rescue the Galactabeasts that give them their powers. So, yeah. Then after that, you have Time Force, where it's a bad guy from the future who kills or grievously injures the Red Ranger in the future. So the rest of the Time Force team comes back in time. They can't morph because they have to,
Because they haven't gotten their powers yet.
well, no, they have their powers. They can't morph without the Red Ranger morpher to unlock the rest, which is bizarre to me because the Pink Ranger is a total badass in that season and leads the team most of the time anyways. But they happen to run into a spoiled rich kid who is like the exact DNA match from 2,000 years in the past to their Red Ranger. So then he becomes the new Red Ranger, unlocks all their morphers. They go from there. You get the Quantum Ranger, which is the second Red, who like is tech that they've developed in universe in modern day to try and copy the Time Ranger's powers, so that the regular people can stand up for themselves.
Fuck them.
Look, they were geniuses of their time. I've left out Lightspeed Rescue. I'll get back to that. Because that's a really, really good one.
Yeah, that's the one where like all of like the Zords or like the bikes or whatever are just like ambulances and like
Lightspeed Rescue.
Like they're straight up just like your like. I guess the best thing that I can compare them to is just like Jeeps with like an ambulance like light on top of it.
They're there to rescue people. They're not there to fight the literal demons. That's the villains.
That's
of
the
Lightspeed
other
Rescue.
team's job.
No. Like fighting demons is one part of it, but they're mostly there to rescue civilians when the demons show up. And Lightspeed Rescue is all like in universe. People have built stuff based off of learning from Rangers and things like that. And so like the Lightspeed organization,
tech.
Lightspeed company, Lightspeed organization, something like that.
Yeah.
They're the ones that supply the Zords, the powers, all the cool stuff that they turn into toys. Really great season. That's the one that I probably enjoyed the most out of like the seasons I had seen and rewatched. Mm-hmm. So then there's that one. Then you have Time Force, which I forget how that one ends. That's one of the ones that like they over dramatize the first few episodes so hard I noped out before I got to a Megazord. Like they went full soap opera drama, and it's like I know that the acting got better through the season, but the first couple episodes were really rough. After that comes Wild Force, which is where you have Tarzan joining a whole bunch of as the Red Ranger, joining a whole bunch of like not eco-terrorists. They're not terrorists, but they're basically eco-terrorists.
They might as well be eco-terrorists. Let's be real.
Well, when their villains of the season are literal, like, the embodiment of pollution, the orgs, then, I mean, it is what it is.
Well, I think there's a story behind this. I think I remember reading that they had to, like, the Power Rangers. I think at this point it's still owned by Fox, and I guess you're getting into like
Fox / ABC, I
the
think, at
Walt
this point.
Disney era of it all. But I think during that time, like early 2000s, they were pushing kids shows on TV to have like a meaning. There was like a political
there was always
reason.
a message.
Yeah, because I think for a while it was just kind of pure action and let the kids have fun. But I think they kind of got in trouble because they had to find some political. Educational is probably the word I was looking for.
Always had to have a message.
Yeah.
Like that's one of Saban's things that like held them back in later seasons is like every episode had to have a message. So even Mighty Morphin had huge environmental recycling and, you know, learning about this culture and being respectful of cultures and stuff. And then you have the monster of the week being
like, wasn't one
an
of them just
ancestral
called
doll or
Yeah.
Kimberly's favorite purse or something.
Yeah,
Like,
the monsters of the week were always weird, like because it could either be like one of like the main reoccurring ones, like Fenster, Goldar,
one of like the
Scorpina.
he who fights and runs away, live to fight another day. That was constant for like the Rita's advisors kind of characters.
Yeah.
But then you just had random, let me enchant this thing.
Yes.
Let me turn this into a giant monster.
Let me turn this pile of trash into a giant monster called Paluto and have it just like
Yeah, Paluticorn. Oh, yeah. So Wild Force is where, as it was airing, when they got sold from Saban and Fox to Disney.
Yeah.
And so that's where things got kind of wishy-washy. That's where you had, at the very end, they lost all of their powers and said, the hell with it. We're Power Rangers. We're fighting you anyways. And literally stood on top of a building in the pouring rain and made a big speech, and then the powers came back. It's like the power of friendship and believing in yourself really came through that day.
yes, not some weird space magic.
Sure.
A bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina, pretty much.
Yeah,
But then after that is when you have the Disney era where they moved the production out of California to New Zealand, where it still is to this day, actually. And that's where you get Ninja Storm, which is like Baywatch meets ninjas, because they were all into extreme sports. And there was the motocross guy, the skateboarder, the surfer girl. Like, it was a whole thing that they tried to make happen of like, check out sports, kids.
get up, get active,
yeah.
get animated.
The X Games was really popular around that time too, so they're just trying to ride the high on that.
Yeah.
After that, you had their first like self-referential, like outside of the team up episodes, the first self-referential season with Dino Thunder. That's where they brought back formerly the Green, White, Red, and Red Ranger Tommy Oliver, now Dr. Oliver, because sometime in the intervening years,
He had enough time to get a doctorate
and become a paleontologist and all sorts of stuff. That's a fantastic one as well. I enjoyed watching that, but I didn't get through the whole season on the rewatch. After that is SPD, where it's in the future, although it's like 2 years from now. It's in 2025 or 2026. Aliens are just commonplace on the planet. And
Is that the one with the talking dog as the like, captain?
Anubis Kruger. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a humanized talking dog guy. that
Okay, no, but
literally
he
barks
is-
out orders.
He
He's great.
literally barks orders, yes. And they kind of like fall away from the dog stuff in later episodes and just let him be in charge. But like the first couple episodes, he literally growls when someone's about to disobey him. They're like, so we need to do this, right? And he's like, "Urgh." And like the puppet face growls and everything. It's great. It's really great. And I will say, hot take, not hot take, the alien dog fish person suit that they had is 10 times better than the just a furry dog costume they had.
Oh, it definitely was.
Because I've seen the side-by-side comparisons, and that the Sentai suit is terrible. It's early furry, like just It's not good.
Hey, we don't kink shame around here.
I'm not kink shaming either. I'm saying the suit is bad.
I mean, a bad quality suit is a bad quality suit.
Yes.
You can be into whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Then after SPD, you had Mystic Force, where they couldn't tell whether they wanted to play more off of Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. And so you get this mishmash tone of, it's a mess. Great opening song, but it's a mess of a season. After that, I'm going to look off online here. Oh, Operation Overdrive. That's the one that's like, it's not the worst, but it's so bad everyone forgets it, except for like one specific episode where they bring back one Ranger from Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, and then they get the Black Ranger from Mighty Morphin back for their team-up episode.
Yeah.
But that team-up episode, outside of having the returning cast, is just the returning cast showing that they are better Rangers than the current Rangers, and the current Rangers basically want to quit and just say, no, you guys handle it. And it's like, that's not the message you want to have.
Yeah, that doesn't strike me as a great motivational moment for a team-based experience.
Yeah, no, it was not good. So then after that, you have Jungle Fury, which is very much martial arts based. Like each of the different Rangers kind of fights with their own martial arts style, and they have to go learn different types of martial arts to beat new bad guys. Really, really good season as well. After that is what became my favorite season, RPM. This is based off of a joke season of Sentai that came out after the original Cars. So all of the Zords have googly eyes. Like they are cars that
remember the googly eyes.
have animal like faces on them and stuff like that. And it is just like a pure joke season in the Sentai. And then because this is where Disney was having trouble selling Power Rangers, they're about to get it back to Saban for just like pennies on the dollar. There's no budget. There's no like support. They basically just say, make a season. And they made it into Mad Max. Power Rangers Mad Max the season.
Oh, fuck
I
yes.
kid you not.
Mel Gibson was there?
I wish.
Could you imagine?
There's a domed city that is literally the last place on Earth that hasn't been conquered by a computer virus that Skynetted the whole world. And so they have these desert scenes for anywhere outside the city, and then otherwise it's just the Rangers going and trying to fight them back at whatever edge they've broken into. It's fantastic and incredibly self-aware. That's the first one where like every season has like a clip show episode, right? Where they just like, this is what happened in the season.
Last time on Dragon Ball Z.
Pretty much, but for a whole episode, so they don't have to do much other than just like, oh, remember when this happened? Maybe that leads to this thing, kind of a thing. But for that episode, it's the Rangers talking to the inventor of their powers with questions. And so they're like, what's with spandex?
Like, why spandex?
Why spandex? And she's like, it's not spandex. And goes into this whole like technobabble of what it actually is. And then one of them's like, okay, but why do we explode? Like, what do you mean? And he's like, no. And he pulls up a clip of himself morphing. And then the morphing sequence ends. There's explosion behind him. He's like, that right there. What is that explosion? And she's like, oh, well, did you really think you'd be able to tap into the morphin grid, this unknowable power source, and give yourself this energy boost without there being backlash? This is making sure you don't die once the suit is on. That's where all the excess energy goes. And so then later in that episode, the Blue Ranger is late for whatever reason, and he's sort of their other tech guy. And so he finally shows up, and they're outnumbered, and so he morphs with his back to the enemy and explodes everything behind him.
That's awesome.
Like, it is super sick. And like one of the bad guys taunting is like, oh, so Yellow's the girl, and Black's the edgelord, green is the goofball, red's the leader. What the hell does that make you, Blue? And he's like, I'm Scottish. Just, that's the thing. It is an amazing like one-off season that is surprisingly short compared to all the rest of them. I think it's like the same number of episodes, but like I binged that in a weekend. Like I could not stop watching that because I'm like, that is good TV. Like, is it campy? Yeah. Is it for kids? Absolutely. You can tell they're holding back on saying worse things, but it's just
for
like
sure.
that is the most mature Power Rangers I have ever seen. That's really good.
Where they actually ask questions of like, why, like, why, as you said, it's like, why the explosions?
Why did the Zords have googly eyes? It turns out that the inventor of the Zords and the Powers, who connected everything to the morphing grid, is a child prodigy from a secret government organization who not only accidentally created the bad guy, but is also incredibly traumatized by the experience. And so since she didn't really have a childhood when she created the Zords, that's why they look so kid-like. That's why they look like toys. It's like, you just dropped that bomb on us? Really, Power Rangers? Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that's RPM. I will not go over anything else in as much detail.
That's fair.
Because then afterwards we have Samurai and Super Samurai. And this is where Saban got the rights back and gave it to Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And Nickelodeon says you cannot have more than one season of a thing with the same name. So we have Samurai, Super Samurai, Mega Force, Super Mega Force, Dino Charge, Super Dino Charge, Ninja Steel, Super Ninja Steel. And it's really, really dumb.
I've also noticed that Nickelodeon here is also just kind of like limiting how many episodes per
Yes.
season. Like they went from like 30 plus to like 20, like barely 20.
Right. And that's 100% due to Nickelodeon. It's not all like footage that they brought over. There's so much footage that just goes unused. And the problem with this reintroduction is that Saban did not want it. This is during the writer's strike, right? Or filming during the writer's strike in 2009. So Saban had nobody, and he's like, just translate the Sentai. We'll just use that story for Samurai. And so you have this very Japanese story of like respecting the elders and family traditions and house culture and all this stuff. And it does not translate at all. You have hero worship from the Blue Ranger to the Red Ranger. Big problem. Blue Ranger is black and Red Ranger is white bread. So it's very much this black guy totally sucking up to the white leader who's in charge, this messianic kind of character. And it's like, that's really uncomfortable.
That gets awkward real quick.
Very, 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 very cringe.
Yeah. So Samurai is one of the worst seasons, followed by the actual worst seasons.
You didn't like Megaforce?
Megaforce, the first episode of Megaforce, they literally just redo the original Power Rangers episode, like Day of the Dumpster, where Rita shows up. Like, it's different bad guys, it's different characters, but like from the moment they morph until the end of the episode,
It's almost one-to-one, isn't it?
it is one-to-one exactly what happens. They literally one-to-one the lines of the original Rangers to the point where they're back at base and like, well, I'm not sure about this, because everybody else is like, oh yeah, we're great, we'll be heroes, and Pink is like, well, I'm not sure. I get helmet hair. And it's like, that was 90s. That was Kimberly, the original Pink Ranger, being a sassy little bitch. And like, now you have this new character who's had maybe 3 lines all episode, has had no real character development at all, or like, you have not shown her to be as much of a sassy cheerleader. And she's just copying the exact same thing. It's terrible. This is also, I think it was the 15th, or it was about to be the second season is the 15th anniversary or something like that of Power Rangers. It's some anniversary.
Yes.
So they cut the Megaforce season basically in half. They speed ran through the Sentai footage because the season after that is a season about pirates who call back and use powers of all previous Sentai Rangers. So they're leading to this huge legendary battle, I think it's called, or something, where they have as many Rangers in suits as possible. They bring back a whole bunch of old actors, put them in the suits, and then just have this huge brawl on the quarry that they always use in every single season.
The random quarry, beating up a bunch of putties.
Right. So they're leading up to this. They're on a ticking time bomb to get to that. So they have to have the Megaforce Rangers get to that point, but then they have to have this power swap in the middle so that they can do callbacks to all the previous Rangers and learn lessons from some of the mentors. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess because they're super rushed. There's no, the Megaforce Rangers are just stand-ins for just whoever to just talk about whatever. And half the time when they morph, they'll use characters from Sentai that's older than Power Rangers. So those suits have never been used on American TV before.
So no one has a point of reference. Then.
No one has a point of reference of why they're suddenly able to fight with flutes, literal flutes. One of them has a music note cannon, and it's why? Well, that's because that was Sonic Man or something like that in the Sentai, and the whole season was they fight with their music, but they never made it to Power Rangers. So they're just these random legendary Rangers, and it's that's really dumb. It's really bad. Afterwards, you have Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge, which has the most Rangers on the team to date. It's got 10 different Rangers.
Really?
Yes.
How'd they make that work? What other colors do they use?
Well, they've got blue and teal, gray and silver, purple. They don't use yellow at all. They have gold, green, black, pink, red, along with the other 4 that I mentioned. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's plenty of colors, even though they overlap.
Yeah.
But that whole season is in the alternate universe. There are these Dino Gems and Dino Charger things that bring power from the Morphin Grid into a Morpher and let you summon any number of Zords. It was the season Wild Force had the most different Zords because the whole thing was the animals were interchangeable on the Megazord for the toys, and now this is that times 2, but with more Rangers to go with more Zords. There's a point where they have 3 or 4 Megazords on screen at once. It's wild, but that's the one where at the end of the season they lose, and the Earth and the universe get sucked into a black hole. And it's literally just them in their super Dino Ultrazord sitting there what do we do? And then they reverse time and go through the black hole and create a new universe or something. It
sounds about right.
They wrap it up in half an hour, dude. There's no amount of explanation that can go into a half-hour episode and make it make sense. It's rough, but it's not terrible. Compared to the previous 2 seasons or 4 seasons, if you want to count the supers, it's a big improvement. Ninja Steel is the last one with direct Saban involvement, where again you have to have a message or some little learning on every single episode. You can't have any overarching things outside of season finales, so you don't have any of what made the first few seasons great, where there's these overarching stories. Whatever happens has to be solved in half an hour. That's one of the things that really just
so you could technically just watch that season in any particular order.
Yeah, outside of the first episode and the last
lame.
episode. Yep, and that's the way it's been for Samurai and Megaforce and all that stuff. And Dino Charge too. They're all
self-contained.
Outside of adding in new Rangers or getting new power-ups, everything is self-contained. This is also the one that gets the most grief for their joke characters. Because Bulk and Skull from the originals, right? Hilarious physical comedy and stuff. It's all fart jokes in this one. And people are okay, it was funny for a little while, but this is getting kind of sus. Got majorly called out for that. Although those characters pulled a Bulk and Skull at the end of the season and ended up being useful in the final confrontation because reasons.
Sure.
That's one where the bad guys were an intergalactic gambling group or something like that. There was an intergalactic TV show of all the bad guys fighting, and if you ever made it through the gauntlet, you'd become the supreme bad guy or whatever. and it was rigged, and they conquered different planets and fought different warriors. It was a thing. Then after that, you have where Hasbro has the full rights, and Netflix gets involved with airing. That's Beast Morphers. They actually go back in Sentai time to pull an older season because they didn't want to adapt the most recent one after that, which was Cops versus Robbers, the Sentai season. And they're like,
that didn't age well in 2000.
To 2019 and 2020, where there's a lot of political unrest and police violence
and
and
all
a lot
this.
of. So we can't exactly do the Persona 5 based season of Cops and Robbers, Loop Hat, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Where you literally have one team of cop rangers versus robber rangers. It's like can't really do that. That's not gonna fly. So they go back in time to Beast Morphers, where we're maybe back to the mainline universe. It's kind of unclear. But someone has developed the ability to tap into the morphing grid that gives every ranger their powers and turn that into Morph X juice that you can use to power regular cities and regular cars. And it's a new green energy source. It's literally a green goo. Pretty great season. Lots of like time for characters to develop over the whole thing. Their tech guy eventually becomes the ranger, which is a big deal where none of the other tech guys in previous seasons have had their time in the sun. And yeah, it's pretty solid. It also has the team up episode with all of the Dino Rangers, because in Sentai, the Go Busters, which is what Beast Morphers is based on, was right next to whatever the Dino Charge season was in Sentai. So that was their team up episode. And that team up episode brought back the Dino Thunder and Mighty Morphin Rangers for this huge confrontation. This is also where they started like deep diving into their own lore, where like the tech kid who had invented all the Ranger powers and the Morphex and everything has this vault of former Ranger powers. Like he's got the in-space blasters. He's got a Mighty Morphin Ranger. He's got the power chargers or whatever they're called from RPM. Because, funny fact, RPM's villain, the computer virus, it's teased at the very end that he infected one of the morphers. So with that morpher and creating this Morph X, that computer virus escaped into this universe, and that's their big bad. It's a huge reveal. It's really good. But that's also where you have all of this like former bad guys popping back up. It's same as the Rangers have this vault of powers and stuff that they are learning from but can't exactly use. The bad guys have like Lord Zed's staff, Goldar's sword, Astronoma's staff, all this kind of stuff. So there's a whole episode of clip show of them looking back at previous bad guys, trying to figure out who to resurrect. And they bring back Goldar for a couple episodes in like a whole new suit. It's really good.
No longer just a golden, like, bat monkey with wings.
Oh, he still is. It's just he's a more modern suit.
Okay.
It's a modern bat monkey with wings, a little bit more demonic-y looking.
So at what point did the Red Ranger actually go evil?
Oh, which time? Like,
there's multiple. Only thing that I recall was one particular time.
yeah, there's been a lot of times where Rangers get brainwashed and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple times where in the team up episodes, one Ranger team will be like not be brainwashed, but they'll think that the other Rangers are the bad guys, and they'll like have a bit of a showdown until everyone morphs, and they're like, wait a second, it's the Spider-Man meme of them pointing at each other like, we're the good guys, but we're the good guys, and then they team up together.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the green goes to red.
Yes.
Yes.
So
That's what I'm thinking of.
The original Green Ranger was a bad guy. That there was the original 5 red, blue, yellow, black, pink.
Right.
The Green Ranger was created by Rita Repulsa, the original big bad.
Right.
And then brainwashed this great karate fighter gave him the powers, and then that was their whole 5-episode Green with Evil arc. And then afterwards, he's freed of the mind control, but they only can use him sparingly because he only shows up in so many episodes. But also in universe, Rita is still fighting for control of those powers. And there's even an episode in the later versions where she creates a clone of Tommy and gives him the evil green powers to fight against White Ranger Tommy.
Oh, gotcha.
So, but yeah, there's tons and tons of times of Rangers starting out as evil.
Rangers becoming evil.
Right. There is actually one Red Ranger who is a convicted murderer IRL. After all of his Ranger stuff, he killed a guy with a sword.
Of course he would.
Yeah. He was the Red Ranger in Wild Force, and then he played a samurai bad guy in Samurai and Super Samurai.
That's awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good look.
Not a good look.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's fun.
It was a big deal when it happened, at least for someone who's in all the Power Rangers subreddits and everything like I am. But yeah, not a good look.
Builds character.
Not the kind of character building you want.
Yeah, definitely not the
I
character.
said that
build.
sarcastically.
Wow. Yeah, then going back, it's the most recent season with Dino Fury, which is also pretty good. Like, Power Rangers outside of RPM is never going to be,
Quite the same.
it's never going to be very mature.
Oh,
It's always going to be children's television, always and forever, and it absolutely should be. Like, there's the Power Dot Ranger like illegal fan film that they made that was like a gritty reboot where
I remember that because
Yeah.
didn't at that point like Rita had like basically won, and like
yeah,
the big like twist at the end is that Tommy thinks he's talking to
Kimberly,
Kimberly,
it's actually
but
Rita.
and it's actually Rita.
Yeah, it was an interesting take for the time, and I liked it. But looking at it now, I can see that, yeah, Power Rangers is a kids show. It
Yeah.
always should be. Like, there should be more mature things for older audiences. Yes.
Like,
And
for example, the one that I like that I know that you're familiar with is the Shattered Grid timeline with Lord Draken,
yes, the comic books.
the comic book stuff.
But I feel like the comic books are separate enough from the TV show that they can be more mature. They can tell better stories, like just straight up better stories, because they're not limited by airtime, Sentai footage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
But yeah, Dino Fury is another one where there's an alien ranger from 65 million years ago who fought with the dinosaurs against these bad guys, and his powers got locked away for 65 million years. He's in cryosleep. Somebody wakes him up. He finds a whole bunch of other people who fight alongside him. It's a really good season. They fight aliens that don't ever actually die. They just go into these little like blobs and then reform later, which is a whole thing. So they have reoccurring suits and reoccurring bad guys a lot in that season, but it's like, it's not quite as egregious as Goldar just always running away right at the last second. It's like, no, they beat these guys and then they came back because the bad guys have resurrection tech. So yeah, that's all of the TV show Power Rangers in however long that took.
Solid half hour.
40 minutes, something
Yeah.
like that.
Nah, man, that's good. But
So, is there an official or just your opinion, Zach? Either or.
Okay.
Is there an official strongest Power Ranger?
Oh. Ugh. I believe officially it would have to be one of the Super Mega Force Rangers because they can turn into all the other Rangers.
Sure.
But like personally, I would have to go back to Zeo Gold because I'm hella biased. And when all the Rangers, the Zeo powers are supposed to get stronger the longer you have them. Zeo Gold powers started off so strong they nearly killed their user like twice. Like they had to rotate actors through to have the original Red Ranger Jason come back and be the Zeo Gold Ranger. And then he couldn't even keep the powers the entire season. He eventually had to give them up because they were too strong and they were going to kill him. So Zeo Gold is my personal answer, but it's probably the Megaforce Rangers who can do whatever the hell they need to.
All right. That's informative. Now, who's the oldest?
The oldest? Probably one of the original cast by now. Are we talking actor or character, though?
Character.
Character, that's Dino Fury Red. He's the one who's 65 million years old.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he's been in hypersleep for however long. He and Dino Fury Gold are both aliens from the planet Ravcon. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Big plot points.
Now, the true question that I think everybody wants to hear.
Dun, dun, dun.
Best sword or Megazord?
Best Zord or Megazord? Oh, gosh. You realize how hard this is because I'm such a huge mecha fanboy too.
Yes, I know. I've seen the statues you have in your room.
You've seen the shelves full of Zords and Transformers. Yeah. Man. The best one is... I'm going to have to go with the original Ultra Zord with Titanus the Brachiozord, the original Mighty Morphin sitting in it with the Dragon Zord over the shoulders on top. I'm going to have to go with that one as like the favorite. But I will say that like the Dino Fury stuff, that's basically Zord Legos. I have never been so tempted to just pick up stuff at Target. Like as I'm just walking through, I'm like,
It's right there.
Oh, that's not just a gimmick for the show. The toys are actually just basically Zord Legos. And I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need it.
So I just looked up on my phone the top 10.
Oh, top 10
Yeah.
strongest? Yeah? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Or well, the best.
okay.
So this is what the internet is saying.
I'm ready to hot take.
All right,
Critique
so-
the internet.
All right. So this can be a hot take. So number 10 being Mega Voyager.
Okay, that's the first one from In Space. Or no, Mega Voyager is the second one from In Space. Okay, no, that one's really strong. Yeah.
Number 9 is Swap Megazord.
Okay, yep, same thing. SPD's second one. Although I feel like if they're calling SWAT, then they're just ignoring the fact that the SPD base is a giant Zord, but the SWAT is really cool. So
Number 8 is Storm Megazord.
the Storm Megazord. What can I see a picture of that one? Or
There's no picture.
okay,
It's just
okay.
Power Rangers Ninja Storm. That's what it's from.
Oh, okay.
So that's 2003.
That one's okay. The Ninja Storm Megazords were like interestingly designed. They had this thing where no matter which Zord it was or which Megazord they were using, the chest would open up and it would be this like ball of ninja power and it would transform into a weapon.
Sure.
Not the top 10. Not top 10 worthy.
This is what the internet is
No,
saying.
the internet is wrong. I'm ready to say that.
That's fine. That's fine. So number 7 was Centaurus Wolf Megazord.
Okay, that's Wild Force?
That is, in fact, Mystic Force.
Mystic. Oh, okay. Mystic Force. That's yeah. Okay, I could see that one. That's interesting.
Then we got number 6, Dragon Zord Battle Mode.
Yeah. The original where they used the Dragon Zord instead of the T-Rex to combine everything.
Correct.
Technically never lost in a single episode. Like the regular Megazord, the other Megazords all like lost in the original seasons eventually, but
Undefeated. That's all that matters.
Dragon Zord battle mode is undefeated. You can go on Death Battle and they talk about it. Yeah.
Which brings up looks like a conflicting one. I'll let you make that judgment call. Number 5 being the legendary Megazord from Super Mega Force.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think that's the one that's that Super Mega Force is where they're stealing powers from previous seasons. So like
That's
their Megazord stealing powers from previous Megazords.
It can
I
just
guess.
be anything.
that's
it
why
needs
I'm
to be.
saying it's kind of conflicting.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that, but I don't know. As someone who never got through that season enough to see it do all the different things, whatever, man.
All right, we're at number 4, Red Battlezord
Okay, yep.
from
Zeo.
Zeo.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's the one that like when the Red Ranger first got it, it wanted to the Zord itself wanted to fight so hard it drove him into a rage, and it was one of those things had punching action on the toy, right?
Yeah.
So the whole thing was like he would just run around and punch whatever was on the battlefield at the time. Like
You just run up and punch it.
yeah, no, like they tested the Zord and he just started punching like the container it was in to get out. Like it's hilarious, but yeah, great one.
So number 3 would be Samurai Megazord from Power Rangers Samurai and Power Rangers Super Samurai.
Whatever.
Another one of those.
That should not be in the top 10 in my opinion. But, you know, I feel like most people are criminally underrating RPM.
Yeah.
The internet once again.
Yeah.
So number 2 is Super Train Megazord.
Yes. Okay.
The train.
Yes. No. The Super Train Megazord from Lightspeed Rescue holds their other Megazord inside of it. All of the train cars like open up to release the original Megazord cars. So it's yeah.
Are you ready for number 1?
Is it the original one?
Mighty Morphin Dino Megazord.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fine. It's the original. I'll give them that. It's good.
93 to 95 people. Just
Yeah.
FYI.
Well, I mean, you know,
You can't beat the nostalgia
you
goggles.
can't beat the nostalgia goggles. They've also like hammered in the nostalgia goggles at this point. You're not wearing them; they are surgically attached.
Yeah.
Like it's like you were saying at the very beginning. You know, Power Rangers to me is always going to be the Mighty Morphin, the original ones, and that is very
That's
much
acceptable.
very much community sentiment as well. So
Yeah. Oh gosh, we have been going on and on for a while. Do we have any other closing, I guess, statements here, boys?
sorry
I
to
think
take
we've
so
co-
long in my synopsis. I mean,
No,
I feel
you're
like I
good.
just monologue.
You're good.
We've covered a lot of material.
We've
just with
covered
Power
just about
Rangers.
everything.
I really hope that everybody enjoyed the ride tonight.
That-
especially our listeners.
That's crazy because honestly, you surprised me. I knew you were a fanboy, but I wasn't aware that you actually knew the plot of all 30 seasons. Jesus, man.
That's awesome. History lesson.
Yeah,
Look,
I mean,
Kenny, when you signed up last year to play a Power Rangers tabletop game, did you really think that I was going to come unprepared as a dungeon
Well, I mean,
master?
that's why I invited you because said tabletop game, you've invested so much goddamn shelf space.
Well, no, that's the board game. The tabletop game is terrible, but the board game is wonderful, and I will absolutely dedicate at least 3 more shelves to it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the Derby City Fandom podcast. You can find us on YouTube. That's probably where you're listening to it right now, but also on your various podcast streaming services, Google, Spotify. You can find us there.
yep. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah. So have a good day, everybody.